Alright, so you guys are not going to see me very well because I'm going to be doing a pre-trip on this truck. So you guys can kind of see what I'm going to do. So I always start from the front. You want to make sure you got your headlights on. I got them on. I got all of my cab lights. So let's go down the side. I got a light here. I'm going to check the tire. I have good tread. Lug nuts all seem to be on. You know, I got covers on them, but you just take a look at those. We'll take a look underneath the front steer tire in a minute, but let's go down the side. Steps are okay. So we go over here. Air lines are all on. Everything over here looks fine. Nothing looks broken, twisted. Oh, that will need to be tightened. All these look good. Tank is clearly fastened. Shocks, everything's on here. Not touching the catwalk. Perfect. There is a light up there. It is hard to see in daylight, so that is something you want to check at night. So check your drives. They look good. Can't really check the lug nuts here. You can't take it off. I take it off every other day to check. So let's come underneath here. You always want to check your fifth wheel to make sure nobody pulled your latch while you're sleeping. And you could also check to make sure your lights here are working. Airbags are in good condition. And nothing here looks loose, broken, or damaged. Drive shaft looks to be fine. So we'll continue down the side of the trailer. This skirt sometimes can get loose, so as I'm walking down, I just push on a little. Lights working. DOT tape is perfect, no problem. Tires look fine. Sound fine. Carriage, the slide carriage, the bolts come all the way, well, pins come all the way through. Look down here, the floor, nothing looks broken or loose. All these stringers here, that's what I'm looking at, all look fine. Got both mud flaps, and you could also, well, actually, let's get underneath here. So I checked yesterday, and I knew I had good brakes all the way around, but you just come over here and you look. And that's something you check when you pick up a trailer. And then if you keep the same trailer, you just check it every now and then. And you also want to check to make sure the rotor, the drum is not cracked or broken. While you're here, you also want to check your springs. Make sure the hangers aren't cracked, any welds broken, and all your bolts are on there and tight. And that's something I check very well first day I pick up a trailer, and then I take a quick look at it the following days. It just makes the pre-trip go quicker. But thoroughly check them the first day, because that's where you're going to find stuff wrong. So we'll continue. Lights are working. DOT tape on the doors and there. You only need one, but we got both DOT. 3 lights up there are working. Kind of hard to see in daylight though. Come down the side. Rear trailer tires, same thing. They're good. I have good tread depth on all of those tires. Again, just want to make sure this is not loose. It's perfect. Lights working. DOT tape. No damage on this wall here. I'm up to these tires. They're good. Handle is pulled all the way in. It's not out. And we can also check to see that our fifth wheel pins are in all the way. I do not have my tire chains out here. They're inside the cab. Later in the year, you have to have your tire chains. Just always keep your tire chains on you. You'll never have a problem. This is pin, close, and lock. That top base is not really good, but it is secured enough. Tire is secured, and that is actually a good tire. Sometimes these tires are not any good, but it's there. These side panels are fine. Steps are clear. Mirrors, windows are clear. This is fine. Now let's check underneath the hood. Now they do have a handle over here that you can grab and lift up, but I find on these Freightliners they could be kind of heavy, so it's just easier if you grab right here and just push up. Okay, didn't want to go up. Did I undo this side? Yes, I did. There we go. So once you have it up, you want to check to make sure you don't have any oil leaks. So I'm looking down here. I have good brakes. I see no oil leak. And then here's your power steering. I got plenty of power steering fluid. Here's my power steering line and pump. Pitman arm. That all looks fine. You want to make sure you don't have too much of a rotation here. Nothing is loose. And that's actually quite firm. I'm moving the wheel inside, so that's fine. But that's perfect. This is a new filter. If it was older, you would see it, some oil in here, or diesel fuel. That's not a problem. It's perfect. Here's your drain valve, and I like to drain a little bit. And that's diesel fuel, that's not water. So perfect there, no problem. This is very important. You want to make sure you have engine coolant. I see that I have engine coolant, and it's coolant, not just water. I have seen some where it's just water, so you want to make sure of that. Check engine oil. I got engine oil. Now, I got the truck off because it's quite noisy, but when you pull this dipstick out right here, you want to see if you got smoke coming out of there. If you do, that means that the engine is worn. That's a great thing to look for if you're buying a new vehicle or truck or whatever. What you're checking there is blow by. So if you got smoke coming out of your dipstick, that's a problem. So that's not a problem here, so we're good to go. So, oh, and then here's all my air lines. None of them are cracked or loose. So let's go to the other side. Here's my windshield washer fluid, and I see I got a line right here, so that's good. I don't think this is a DOT thing, but I like to make sure I have windshield washer fluid. So over here, this is the AC pump, and I'm just checking the tension on this belt by going like this. It's less than a ½ inch, so that's perfect. Check this one over here, less than ½ inch, so that's perfect. And now I'm just going to do an overview to make sure I don't have any oil leaks. That right there is AC condensation, so that's fine. Here, again, same thing as on the other side. You're just checking to make sure everything's good. Now you really want to make sure that your steer tires are perfect. If you have any issue on your steers, do not drive your vehicle. It's dangerous, okay? Because if you blow a back tire, okay, one of those tires, if you blow one, guess what? You got other tires, you're going to be okay. You blow this tire, a lot of bad things can happen. So I always scrutinize my steer tires far more than I do some of the other tires. Now that doesn't mean that my other tires I'm lazy on, but these I pay a lot of attention to. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, but I did on those tires, you want to check to make sure you don't have any oil coming from your axles, or your axle hub is actually important. If you have oil coming from there, that means that the seal there is no good. Again, on your steer tires, that's a major issue. That's something you really want to pay attention to. And that's something I check daily. On my drives, I check that again every other day. I checked it yesterday, so I'm not going to check it again today. So that's basically the pre-trip while the vehicle is off. So make sure you close this again and you lock it back up. So as you can see, a pre-trip can go pretty quick. So starting the truck again. Oh, whoops. So here you want to make sure you got air pressure. We do. And we can go ahead and turn off our lights. When you get into a new truck, you want to hit your city horn and your air horn. Make sure that they both work. That's when you get into a brand new truck. You use your city horn off and on all day, every day. So if it stops working, you know. Once a week, just check your air horn when you're at the terminal. No big deal. So let me take off my shoes and let's come back here. So you want to make sure fire extinguisher, check. Make sure it's in the green and it's secured properly. It is. I got fuses. I got some glad hand seals, an extra ring here. This is for the load hold things. Some Velcro, which is always handy. Perfect. And then underneath here, let me put the phone down real quick. So wheel chocks, check. Tire chains, got them. Here's another wheel chock. I throw this one in my side cabinet if I need to get to it quickly. I have my triangles. That is my kingpin lock. So I got all that. On this side I don't have anything yet. Over here is probably going to be my laundry stuff. Or I might put it over on this side. I don't know yet. But so chocks, chains, flags, fire extinguisher, fuses. Those things you need to check once, because if they were in your truck, you should always have them in your truck. I would say if your truck goes into the shop, or if you leave your truck for a few days, come back, just take a quick look, make sure they're still there, nobody walked off with it, or somebody borrowed them. But checking that takes a few seconds. Just get your hands on it for a second and make sure you still got it. Quite simple. Oh, the other thing you need to check, which I have up there, is my permit book. So right here. Now your permit book, you want to make sure that you check this periodically. Make sure you have all your permits. And I checked this when I got this truck a couple days ago. And what you want to do is find the permit that's going to go out the soonest. Figure out what day that goes out, and then put it on your calendar a couple days before it goes out. That way, you just put on your calendar permit book. And then that way you know, and I have a permit that's going to go out in September. What permit it is, don't know. Does it matter? Nope. A permit book is out of date in September. So in September, a few days before that permit goes out, I know to grab my permit book, figure out which permit it was, and have it replaced. Done. And that's how you gotta always be abreast on your permits and know if you have to change them. So that is the entire pre-trip done. Real simple. Oh, I didn't do the leak down test on the air brakes. DOT says
trip idle in 60 seconds.
DOT says you're supposed to do that twice a day, every day. I do that one every other day. Hell, we for picks and grins, we can go ahead and do that right now, and I can show you how you do that. It's fairly simple. So to do that, what you do, just remember, turn truck off. Make sure you put it back in the run position. That's going to allow your dash to come back on. Now you should put your wheel chocks out, but what I will do is, before you do your test, release your air brakes. do not start bleeding your brakes, and you're just going to look outside the window and make sure you're not moving. I'm not moving. I'm on flat ground. So I can go ahead and just do my air brake test. So I'm gonna turn the AC off. So I'm gonna watch, and my air pressure is not dropping. And you would wait 1 minute to make sure it does not drop in that time. Now I'm not gonna wait a whole minute. Then what you do is you apply full brake. And you can see I have 100 pounds. And then you're gonna watch this for a whole minute and make sure it doesn't drop 3 psi while trying to hold the exact same pressure on the gauge. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to use 2 feet. So you just watch that for a minute. It's not gonna drop, I already know. I tested this. So then you let go and then you pump your brakes. So there's the low air warning. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to keep going. And around 40 to 30 psi, my gauges here should pop. And this one will be first, this one will be second, or they'll both come out at the exact same time. But let's check. And we can visually see that they have both have popped. And if you try to put them in, they'll just come right back out. So tractor protection valves work. And we can see at what pressure that they came out at. So that's perfect. So now we're going to start the truck. And we are going to rev it up to about 1,000 RPMs. And then we're going to see how quick my pressure rebuilds. And now we're checking the pump to make sure it pumps up correctly. Now, the reason why I didn't pull on my brake chambers to make sure I have the correct amount of travel is because those are automatic adjusting brake chambers. It's the older style where you have to do it yourself. You have to pull on it and make sure you don't have more than an inch. But on these self-adjusting ones, you really don't have to worry about that too much. And as we can see, we are building pressure at a steady rate, and the buzzer's already off. Now, do not move your vehicle until you have over 120 psi. Me personally, I'll wait until I hear the air valve pop off. It doesn't take that long. I normally will get it up to 100 psi and then I'll stop revving the vehicle and I'll just allow it to do it on its own. So I'm at 100 psi on my secondary and my primary. Now how can you tell if it's a secondary or primary air tanks? I'll show you. Right here shows a PS. Primary air tank, secondary air tank. So that's how you know which one is which. You also want to make sure this is my air gauge for my rear airbags or my drive tires. I know from scaling, if it's at 60 psi, I'm legal. Now, it's not at 60, it's actually above 60. So this would actually be considered illegal, but I'm actually parked in a divot. So the nose of the trailer is sitting on my drives more than what it would be if I was on flat ground. So if you're gonna use this gauge, you wanna make sure you're on flat ground. And this is the air pressure for the brakes. And we just heard the puff off for the air brakes. So we have a full tank and we look over there, we can see that. We have plenty of DEF and fuel. But going back to this, if you're carrying a heavy load, always scale out. Now, I'm gonna pause the video for a second. I'm gonna find my 2 scale tickets and explain those here in a brief second. Okay, this is the first scale ticket that I took, and this is a load that's 44,000 pounds, and I'm going to California. California is extremely picky on their weights. So your trailer has to be 40, your rear axle has to be at the 40-inch mark. You can't have it further or backwards anymore. So my trailer axle was overweight by 380 pounds. Now, generally what you would do is you would just move your trailer axle back away from your drive axles, and it will put more weight on your drive axles and less on your trailer axle. But I couldn't move my trailer axles back any more than that 40-inch mark. So I could not fix this 380 pound difference. My steer and my drive axles were fine, and I could put more weight on my drive axles. So the only way I was able to do that was going back to the shipper, showing them that I was 380 pounds overweight, and they had to adjust the load to put that weight from the back of the trailer to the front of the trailer. So here's my second scale ticket. So we can see here, you know, this is underneath 12, this is under 34, underneath 34. So I'm now legal. And I'm legal by quite a bit. So my pre-pass should allow me to go by all the scales, because I have like an 800 pound safety. So not a problem there. Now the other thing you want to make sure is when you scale out that you do it with a full tank, or you know how much fuel you have. Fuel gets,
Inter-trip vital violation.
the fuel can get quite heavy at times. So you want to make sure that you account for that extra weight on your drive and steer axle. Now, this was with a full tank of fuel, so 200 gallons. So I know that I'm fine even if I'm with a half tank or whatever. But if you scale out with, you know, quarter of a tank, and your steer axle was close to being overweight, or your drive axle's close to being overweight, and you had an empty tank, well, guess what? You fill up, you're going to be overweight. Normally that will happen if you're pulling 45+ thousand pounds and you have very little wiggle room. Here I have enough wiggle room, and this was with a full tank, so I know I'm perfect. So that's how you could understand your scale tickets. Really simple. Your pre-trip is really simple. It's as hard or as easy as you make it. Okay, just remember, when you first get a truck and you first get a trailer, scrutinize everything. If you do a good pre-trip when you get a new trailer or a new truck, all your other pre-trips after that are easier, because you already know that truck, you already know that trailer, you know what you need to look for and what you're looking at. So you're not going to be surprised if you see something. And you know, if you know your tread is getting kind of low, where you're like, yeah, you start to pay attention to that, and you start, you know, gauging that tire, making sure you stay legal. I know that all 18 of my tires have enough tread. They're almost brand new, so I have no reason to check the tread depth on all of them. The only thing I look at is to make sure that my tires are wearing evenly. And that's something, again, it takes a couple seconds to look. When you're hitting the tires, making sure you got right air pressure. You can check that quick. You also want to make sure that you don't have any tire separation on your tread. That's something you can check real quick. You know, checking your tires, it doesn't take that long, okay? But do it every day. Your air pressure, that doesn't take long either. Check it every day. If you lose a tire on your rear, it's not as bad as if it's your steers. So always scrutinize your steers. And if your steer doesn't look right, have it checked by a mechanic. Don't just say, screw it, and you'll drive it. That's how you end up in a crash real quick. And sorry if I keep talking about that front steer tire. It's that important though. Your front steer. If you can't steer and you lose a tire, or anything with your front steer, it's a problem. It is a huge problem. But always scrutinize all your other tires. All right. Your oil level, I mean, I check that every day. your oil level is going to be basically the same from day to day. And for the oil level to change drastically, you're going to see oil underneath your truck. It means that you have a severe oil leak. Now, if you see a slight change over a course of a week, that would be normal, okay? It just means that you're probably burning a little bit of oil. In a newer truck, you're really not going to be burning that kind of oil. In an older truck, you could. But that's what you're checking for. So, if you're running late, you could probably skip checking the oil. But again, it takes 2 seconds, guys. Your engine coolant, though, check that every day. Alright, you could easily get a leak in one of your radiator hoses, or you pick up a rock and it hits your radiator and you're losing fluid. And when you're driving, always check your coolant temperature. Very important. That's it that I can think of right now. But yeah, so your pre-trip, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is normal. When you first get a truck, though, it takes an hour, because I'm pulling those rods out, making sure that I don't have more than an inch of play. Even though that they're on, it's a self-adjusting one, I will check them to make sure that they're functioning correctly. And I may check that once a week, okay? But if they work, they work. You know, you want to make sure your ABS light's not on your tractor. If it's on your trailer, it's not a problem. If it's on your tractor, that's a DOT issue. But when you first get a truck, it takes me an hour to pre-trip it, because I'm checking everything, including these switches right here. So to check these, you go like that. We don't hear any more air coming. That was the issue with this truck earlier. When I did the inner diff axle lock, it was an open air line. So that was an air leak. I don't have that. So we could also check to make sure the fifth wheel slide is working correctly. It is. And then the air suspension. The buzzer's on and the rear axle is going down. And then rear axle came back up. Now, because we did do the fifth wheel slide, we now have to get out of the truck. If you ever pop that valve, always come out and verify that they relocked. Okay? Because if this fifth wheel slid even a little bit and they didn't lock, it could cause problems. Always check that every time. It takes 2 seconds to do so. But we can see that they're locked on this side. They're going to be locked on the other side. You're supposed to check that on both sides. But I know that it's locked. So that's it. So as you can see, it is fairly simple to do. So yeah, anyway, that's the end for this video. I did not cut anything out. That's pre-trip from beginning to end with description on everything I'm looking at. If you're doing it yourself, you could do it quicker, but quicker doesn't always mean better. Just pre-trip your truck correctly the first time. Anyway, that's it. See y'all later.